Hey, good afternoon, everyone. In one of my spring 2024 classes at Mount Wachusett Community College, I thought I'd put up a little introductory video of who I am, some of my expectations, and just to get a little bit acquainted because it's a difficult experience, I think, taking classes online. I know I've taken them online. It's very impersonal. We don't get a sense of who the professor is, who the student is, and the dynamic's very difficult as a result. So I thought it'd be nice just to put up a quick hello and an introduction. My name is Jim Corman, and I'll be your instructor for spring 2024 in one of several classes, either business law, history of the Constitution, political science and government, and internal law, I think is what I have this semester. I live here in Brimfield, Massachusetts. My wife and 7 kids. We only have 3 or 4 living with us at different times at this juncture because the kids are getting older. The youngest is 18 and the oldest, I believe, is 27. We also have 2 dogs. Most people want to see who the dogs are, so they're right here. I brought a treat so they'd come over. This is Martha. Martha, where are you? Bailey just came in the picture. Bailey? Martha's a golden retriever, about 7 or 8 years old, and Bailey is a golden doodle, 2 years old. And we live out here in Brimfield. If you don't know where Brimfield is, it's over by, it is in Hampden County, but it's right on the edge of Worcester County next to Sturbridge, Massachusetts, where I lived off and on between Brimfield and Sturbridge for the past really 30 years. Grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts, and I went to school largely in Springfield, Mass. For a long time, graduated from Springfield Technical High School, went on to Springfield Technical Community College. I'm a community college graduate myself, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in this intro in a little bit. After I left STIC, Springfield Technical Community College, with a degree in criminal justice, I went on to Springfield College just down the road. Very parochial. I liked living at home. I liked to commute. And I studied history at Springfield College and got a history degree, bachelor's in history. From there, I went on to Western New England Law School, also in Springfield, and I earned my Juris Doctorate and became a licensed attorney. After that, after actually joining Mount Wachusett Community College as a faculty member, practicing for about 12 or 13 years as a general practice attorney doing many different areas of law, I had the opportunity to teach full-time at the Mount. And that's what I started doing, teaching legal studies and political science classes, because that's a passion of mine as well. While I was there, I went and got a master's degree in history at Worcester State University. Just love history, and I think history, political science, and law are the same umbrella of related themes and theories and are intertwined in a great deal. And I wanted the credentials for the ability to teach history classes as well at the Mount and other places. Well, I teach at Worcester State, and I've taught at a few other colleges part-time as well, but the Mount is my primary focus. That's where I'm a full-time member of the staff. I am the department chair of legal studies, department chair of political science, and department chair of history as well. So why do you care? Because I want to make that connection that I'm not really any different than you are, and nor is my experience probably all that much different. When I graduated from high school, I thought I was going to be a plumber. My grandfather was a plumber. My dad was a plumber, and I was going to be a plumber. So I wasn't really thinking about college. And in my generation, not as many people went to college, or the expectation of going to college was a little less, I think, focused upon in that time. And as things went, I graduated from high school, and to get into the plumber's apprenticeship program, I had to wait another year. And my dad asked me, should I get some college? And during that year, go to STIC, Springfield Technical College. Grew up right down the road from it. And I thought it wasn't a bad idea. So I signed up literally the day before classes started. I packed them all in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Had no idea what I wanted to study. I just picked as many classes as I could fit on that Tuesday, Thursday schedule, so I didn't have to come on campus on Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, and of course the weekends would be free. I believe I took sociology, anthropology, psychology, a math course. There was one other, and I don't quite remember what that was. But anyways, I took 5 courses, which is considered full load back then. I think it's still considered that to this day, 15 credits. And I felt very excited about it when I first started. But then when I was there for a little while, I felt the sense of maybe I didn't really belong there. Maybe I wasn't really college material. How is this going to possibly advance my plumbing career? And it seemed like a little bit of a lonely experience, to be quite honest with you. I felt a bit anonymous, and my friends weren't there. Not that I had a ton of friends, but my friends didn't go to the community college. Most of them went away to four-year colleges or went into trades right out of the bat, or out of the box, I should say, from leaving high school. So I was there for a while. I was doing okay. But then the real disconnect started happening when I was getting some exams, and I did mediocre on one specifically. I remember was anthropology, or getting maybe a C plus. It wasn't a terrible grade, but I literally didn't remember having a lot of the material in my wheelhouse of understanding. Oh, I don't remember reading about it. I remember being discussed in class, and I always remember the professor saying, "You can come up in the class and we can discuss your test if you like." And so I'm a very shy person by nature, but I decided to go up. And I remember talking to this professor. I remember her saying, what seems to be the issue? I said, I got this whole section wrong, and I don't remember talking about it in class. I don't remember reading about it in the text, and I thought I studied pretty well for it. And she said, all those questions came from the suggested supplemental readings that were in the syllabus. And I remember not trying to be rude or defensive or anything like that, but I said, geez, I thought that was suggested. It sounds like they were really required. And she got a little defensive, and she said something like, well, the next time a professor suggests something, perhaps you should heed their advice. And I walked away pretty hurt, and everyone laughed because there's a group of us around the professor talking about the exam at the time. And I left pretty disillusioned from that class that day. And I remember going to the next class, sociology, which I liked, and I liked the professor, but we had a paper due in about a week, or a rough draft of a paper. I quite honestly had never written a paper before in high school, not one that we would think of with appropriate citations and bibliography and the formatting that was expected. And so panic was starting to set in. And I can remember asking the professor, goes, this rough draft next week, what do you really expect? And he, kind of like me in some respects, was a bit fast and loose and said, I just want you to put something together, put your basic ideas together. It's a 5 to 10 page paper. I just want a rough draft. It doesn't have to be nearly that long for the rough draft. It could be sort of a 3-page outline with a bibliography, and that didn't help me at all. It made me more intimidated because I thought it was very vague, and quite frankly, I was scared to do it. I thought I was going to fail. I went home. It was a Thursday night. I went home, and lo and behold, I got very sick. By Friday afternoon, I got a flu, and I got the flu, and I remember Monday morning, we had snail mail back then. We didn't have emails and all that kind of communication. And I remember getting in the mail a letter from Springfield Technical Community College that the following day would be the last day to withdraw from classes without a grade. And it was approaching Thanksgiving break, and panic was starting to set in that I didn't belong there, and I wasn't college material, and I wasn't doing as well as I probably should have. And I got kind of anxiety bound, to be quite honest with you. And I remember getting into my Ford Galaxie 500, and not a nice one, an old rusty giant whale of a car. And I drove down to Springfield Technical College, which was only about a couple miles from my house, and I withdrew from all my classes, so I didn't get a grade. I got what's called a W. I don't know if they still do that anymore in terms of what your transcript will show, but I wanted to save some pride and not have poor grades. But in hindsight, I probably would have done all right. And I quit. And boy, did I feel good that first day. And I remember going home and I was like, that monkey's off my back. I'm going to concentrate on becoming a plumber. I'll do some work with my dad from time to time and learn a little bit of the skills. But yet I felt I couldn't tell anybody that I had withdrew from school or I quit, because I quit. Let's cut to the chase. I quit school. And Thanksgiving rolls around, and relatives were stopping over. We were stopping over their house, and I remember saying, "Jim, how's college going? How's things going over at Springfield Technical Community College?" And I just couldn't answer honestly. So I said, they're going, they're moving along, and kind of a white lie, I guess, because I had quit. And my father, being very perceptive, says, "Hey, what's going on?" In a quieter moment with just he and I, he said, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on with you in the school?" I said, "Hey, Dad, I withdrew from everything. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't going well. All these classes had no bearing, except maybe the algebra class, the college algebra might have been helpful, but the rest of them were complete esoteric nonsense that wasn't going to help me as a plumber." And he was very supportive, but at the same time, he, sometimes the way a parent or someone that really knows you can do, he conveyed a sense of disappointment, not in me, but for me, for lack of a better way of saying it. And that started as the time went on, it started bothering me more and more. And those of you that experience buddies and friends that go off to college, they come back during Thanksgiving, and sure enough, we get together that weekend, and they're all asking each other, how's school going? What do you like? And it comes around to me, and I said, I told them because I was pretty close. I didn't have a lot of friends, but the ones I had, I was close to. And I told them I quit, and it wasn't for me. I'm a plumber anyways, and they were all supportive. But at the same time, I couldn't help but see a degree of, I don't know, disappointment for me, and that started to fester. So it stayed festering for quite a while. Months went by, and I was licking my wounds, so to speak, about quitting, and it really, really bothered me. And then I got a flyer in the mail that there was a mini semester coming up at Springfield Technical College. They have at the Mount too. I think they start in March, right around the St. Patrick's Day, the spring break, and the mini semester will start up. And I thought, I've got to go back. I've got to at least take English Comp, which has always been intimidating for me, at least back then. Well, every class is still intimidating to some degree, to be quite honest with you. And so I went at night and took the one class over 7.5 weeks, very intense. I think we went 3 or 4 days a week for several hours. Had a very tough but very good professor, very compassionate and very engaged. And she made me believe I had the ability to do things, even though she was making me work very hard for B's and B minuses and a couple A minuses and maybe an A along the way, a lot of writing. And I don't know what I got for that final grade for that class. Maybe it was a B, but man, I finished it and I felt great. And I followed her into the summer, took another class with her because I felt a certain degree of comfort, for lack of a way of saying it. And I went back in the fall full time, and I stuck to it. And it took me 4 years, the year I quit. And then the 3 years I went back full time because I switched majors. I really loved history and political science, and the closest thing I could find that I thought was related was criminal justice. So I took a year of general studies and 2 years of criminal justice. Well, why tell that story? Is this Rocky Balboa crap? Come back at big underdog type crap? No, it's just that I know what it feels like sometimes when you don't feel like you belong in an institution, or you feel like you don't understand what the professor might want from you, and how intimidating that can be, and how very isolated you might feel during the course of a semester, especially when we're online. So why I'm putting up this little video is, one, you get to see me in my silly chandeliers at my house and these weird poles hold out the room behind my house. You just get a sense maybe I'm a normal, regular guy, and I want you to be able to feel a certain degree of comfort, to be able to reach out if it's not understanding an assignment. Maybe you don't do well on a test. I will walk through the test with you, and we can talk about why you get different questions wrong and what your understanding of the material was. And my goal isn't so much about giving you grades. It's about, at the end of the semester, did you learn the core competencies, what the goal of the course was? And so I want you to know I'm here to work with you, but I also want you to know the Mount as a whole. And I'm not trying to sell anything. I have tenure. It doesn't make a difference if I have 20 students in my class or if I have 10. I'm going to get full pay anyways. I'm telling you this because I believe in it. The community college is an excellent resource. The Mount is a sister institution from what Springfield Technical Community College was. When I left there, as corny as it sounds, I wanted to return to teach at a community college because I believed in it. It's open admissions. Everybody can go there. It doesn't even matter if you graduated from high school. You can start anew at a community college. And if it wasn't for the community college, I would have gone on and gotten a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a doctorate degree. And somebody say, well, you're a smart guy. I'm not that smart. I'm just an average, everyday person. But did I put some effort into it? Yeah, of course I did. But I also overcame some of the fears. And some of the fears I still have to this day about not always understanding what's expected of me, having apprehension about doing a decent job on things. And I've learned that even though it's sometimes difficult, I ask for help. I reach out and try to find research. Like in my law practice, I'm still a practicing attorney. I've been practicing for 33 years now. I have a law office right across the street from Worcester Central Court in downtown Worcester. And to this day, if I get a new legal issue come up and I need to do a motion to request some special remedy, if you will, in court, and I don't know how to do it or have never done it before, I gather up the courage to ask colleagues. Sometimes I'll just be as frank as I can to a judge and say, Judge, how would you like me to proceed to address this underlying issue? And you'd be surprised. Sometimes you get the answers. And sometimes you get a lot of guidance too. And sometimes you make friends along the way. And I'm very shy introverted person, and it takes a lot for me to do those things. So I know your pain, and I want you to know that you do have resources at the Mountain. I can't speak for every single professor there, but come on. I would say the great bulk of them want you all to succeed and want to help you and want you to approach them if you do have problems along the way during the course of the semester. And my kind of weird optimism in life about having a renaissance, or some of you may have already failed classes and you're making a comeback now. Some of you may have not done very well in high school. And one of my favorite movies, It's a Wonderful Life, and it's kind of about redemption. And that's why I named my dog Bailey after George Bailey, the main character in the movie, because it is about that sense that you can make great strides in life with effort and with reaching out for help. And there's no question about it. Martha, my other dog, is named after Martha's Vineyard, because someday I'm going to win that lottery and find a place on Martha's Vineyard and move there. That's other little goal. But other than that, my hobbies are politics. I love politics. I collect political memorabilia. And I'm just here to help. And I hope you do reach out. I give you my cell phone, my email. My cell phone's my business number too. Don't ever be afraid to send out an email, and don't be afraid to send a second one. So sometimes someone will email me and say, "Sheesh, Jim, I took the test and I got number 17 wrong. I really thought I got it right. I don't understand. Can you get back to me?" And then what happens? I don't get back to you. Why? Because I've got a lot of classes. I get busy. I have a law practice. Don't ever be afraid to reach out a second time. Don't be afraid to call. Don't ever feel like you're being a pastor, you're bothering me. That's what I'm here for. I really want you to reach out and do those things. And sometimes I do forget to respond to things. And sometimes I do screw up on the framework on an online class, for example. You'll see some reference to an article, but I didn't post the article. Tell me about it. Tell me we just simply can't find it. Or the link to a video doesn't work. And that does happen. So don't ever be afraid to seek out to have things clarified and done right, because it might well be a defect on my end, and I'd be glad to help make it work the right way. Or dates might be wrong. You might be taking an exam or a quiz and you submit it and it says this is 2 weeks late. Well, maybe you are doing it late, and maybe you're going to reach out and tell me why. There might be some important mitigating circumstance why you're late. But it also might be because I set some wrong date in the Blackboard tools that are just completely erroneous. So don't ever be afraid to reach out and help me correct a grievous error like that. Not much more that I can think of to talk about other than all the different kinds of resources there are at the Mount. There's tutors for writing. A couple of my classes, you have to do a paper. If you're in history of the Constitution, you're going to have to write a very short paper, 4-page paper, 1,000 words. And the same with political science and government. I think you're going to have to write a short paper as well. I don't think there's a paper requirement, although there's a lot of written homework assignments for business law and for introduction to law. There may be a field trip opportunity. We almost always do one to Gardner District Court, where Judge Goldstein, who also teaches in the legal studies program at the Mount, offers sort of a day of observation and discussion of cases over at Gardner District Court. But if you guys are interested and want to, we can do I was thinking if time fits and there's enough demand for it, maybe we go up to Boston to the Supreme Judicial Court, our state's highest court in Boston. It's the John Adams Courthouse. It's a beautiful architectural wonder just to see that, and enjoy the day up there together to get exposure to what appellate courts do and how they argue cases. Some of you are pre-law majors. I know that some of you have really just a modest interest in law, or you're taking a class to fill an elective, and I get that, but I think everyone should know at least a little bit about law, and I urge you to participate as much as you can. Don't be afraid to reach out. Any discussions, say hello, get into the introductory board, which is ungraded. I'm not huge on the discussion board anyway, so it's very flexible in terms of grading on the discussion board. A lot of you might not like it. I'm not a big fan of the discussion board activity as a student myself, but that's a place for you to talk about the concepts in an open, I don't want to say non-judgmental because I have to grade them, but in terms of you're free to be incorrect, to voice your opinion and concerns about different things there, but you get a little sense of classroom camaraderie, like where are you from, why are you back into this class, what are your career goals, and you'd be surprised how different people know each other, or different people have crossed paths before in the community, and that way you can create a sense of community, hopefully, for the classroom. And again, don't be afraid to reach out. And I went 20 minutes for what I was hoping to be a 3-minute video. Otherwise, stay well, and hopefully this video is received well. Take care, folks.